Pledge of allegiance. Our Father,
Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
all right, item D on the agenda is approval of minutes. In the absence of any objections or corrections, the minutes from December 19th, 2022 regular council meeting shall stand approved. Okay, hearing none, they stand approved. Okay, item E, citizen communication. If there is anyone in the audience that would like to address council on anything that is not on the agenda, you can step up to the podium, or if you're on our WebEx, you can type in the chat box and we will check that periodically. Item F, reports from council committees. F1, the Finance and Budget Committee did not meet on December 28th, 2022 due to being canceled by the chair. F2, the Safety and Human Resource Committee did not meet on December 28, 2022 due to lack of agenda items. And item F3, the Technology Committee did not meet on January 3rd, 2023 due to lack of agenda items. Okay, moving on to item H, introductions of new ordinances and resolutions. H1 is ordinance number 084-22. An ordinance authorizing a pay increase for the City of Napoleon, Ohio Finance Director and declaring an emergency. Have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, so we made the proposal for how much we were going to increase the Finance Director. I'll state in here the 3%.
3.5.
3.5.
Yeah.
Looking for the half. You sure you want that much, Kevin, or the 3? Are you okay with that, or 3.5?
I'd like to go a little higher if you're asking,
Not really.
but I appreciate
Not
the,
really.
giving me a choice between those two.
All right. Okay, any questions or comments? All right, Marissa, please call the roll.
Ross,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Dr. Dave,
Yes.
Molly,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
All right, that will be moving on to second read. Item H2, ordinance number 085-22, an ordinance authorizing a pay increase for the City of Napoleon, Ohio Law Director and declaring an emergency. Have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All right, same thing here, 3.5%. Any questions, comments?
We can give Billy some choice, 3 or 3.5. Should we do that, just to be polite?
No.
Okay.
We'll just do 3.5 for him. All right. Marissa, please call the roll.
Ross,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Dr. Dave,
Yes.
Molly,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Okay, that too will move on to second reads. Item I, second readings of ordinances and resolutions. I1 is ordinance number 080-22, an ordinance creating the non-bargaining position of Public Safety Administrative Assistant for the City of Napoleon, Ohio, amending ordinance number 077-22 and declaring an emergency.
Motion.
Second.
Thank you. Chad?
As discussed during first read, this would create the administrative assistant position for both police and fire. One thing I did want to clarify, this is the creation of the position. This does not give the authorization to fill that position. until that position is appropriately budgeted for. I spoke with Chief Mack. If you recall, during the budget process, we were trying to go at the same time to create my GIS position. Even though for several years we had had funding in the budget to have a person, we did not have a position in the ordinances that we could fill. Yes, they would like to have the position filled. They understand if there's some reluctance. And they were hoping to at least get the position created. That way, if instruction is given to either, whether for another week it's myself or the incoming city manager, Andy Small, if we're instructed not to fill it, it would at least be available to request it in the budget next fall. But Chief Mack was hoping to be sure that that was communicated to council. If at the very least, he's hoping to, and I'm speaking for Chief Mack because he's not here, but I know Joel Fry's here as well. At the very least, they're hoping to create the position even if they're not permitted to fill it at this time.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? I don't have in front of me the questions. I think we had some questions from the last meeting that were going to be addressed.
I think the biggest thing was we wanted to see a breakdown of the current clerk of council's weekly time allotment. They did provide that in the packet. From my estimation, it looks like roughly 24 hours in the first and third weeks being spent on clerk of council activities. 7, 19, 21. Another 30 on the second and fourth week between clerk of council duties, so leaving 10 to 15 hours each week for that safety service admin position. Just to answer your question.
Thank you.
Yeah, and to clarify, that's the time that is allotted with the current structure. If this position is created, the hope would be to eventually modify the duties of the existing clerk position. This legislation does not do that. In the event that this would pass and we would be permitted to fill it, we would then look at modifying the duties of the clerk to be the clerk duties and records. If this position was created, this position would only work for police and fire as their assistant to deal with just those two departments. This position would not have any responsibility to council as far as the clerk duties.
So right now, all the duties for this position that's being asked for is being done by people in the police department and fire department on their own.
All those responsibilities fall on the staff of those departments that the clerk is unable to cover in the 10 hours or so that she has allotted. Talking to the chief, they feel they would be able to keep someone busy a minimum 40 hours a week just to free up their staff to work on other items that they would normally deal with throughout the day. It's being requested to try to take the load off of some of their staff because they feel like a patrolman would be better out on the road than doing some of this paperwork. And Joel can speak to the fire department duties much better than I can, and Brittany's here as well. They're much more familiar with those duties.
Yeah, I think I hit on it last week. I talked about the run billing information that my captains are doing currently. Not to mention, we talked about the Medicare tracking we're gonna be doing next year, and then grants. I think we covered everything last week about the importance of the position. And just currently, this position doesn't cover anything on the fire department. So, like I said, public safety is only police. so we don't get anything from the current position as well.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
I guess I have 2 points. One, which I alluded to last week, one of my main concerns with this whole thing is still the fact that there's too many hands handling the paperwork. That's one of my main concerns. But however, my other concern is the fact that this was, not brought up during the budget process. So personally, I am all in favor of approving of a position, but not filling it right now. But I think down the road, we really need to consider doing something about this, because I'm just concerned that it could end up being a problem for the city with too many hands being involved.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit? Like, who would not be touching it that is now, I guess?
You should have, if we created this position, it would be, this person would be handling it instead of different patrol officers or different firemen. It would just be this person handling the paperwork. That's my concern.
Do you think there's any value in waiting for a new fire chief? To see
I'm-
what they have to say about it,
Well,
and this new city manager also? I'm just asking.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I'm saying I still think we need to create the position, personal opinion, but I don't think we need to fill it right at this time. Sort of like what Chad was alluding to with the one position in his department. I think we need to create it and then have some time, maybe let's say August or so, bring it back up with, the new city manager will have some time to be on duty by then. We won't know for sure who the fire chief's going to be. But I think we should need to create the position and just not fill it at this time. That's my personal opinion.
That was, one of my concerns also was the HIPAA. But having it under one person, it's still gonna go through multiple hands. It doesn't drop the chance of a HIPAA violation happening. I'm concerned because governments just have a tendency to grow. And we're having a new city manager come in. Maybe we ought to have the new city manager take a look at and bring this up down the road. Is it a good idea? Yes, but there's a lot of changes that are happening, and it wasn't brought up during budget meeting. And I would just like to point out, maybe as it changes hands, and you brought up that there's gonna be a new fire chief, we should have them look at it too, and get an evaluation from a different perspective.
And just to clarify, Chad, if this were to pass, it would not be filled unless it was presented to council prior to.
Correct.
Budget.
Ordinarily, the city manager would have that discretion, but you have the ability to instruct the city manager in what you want to have done. As I stated, whether it's Andy or for another week myself, knowing council's position with this, we would not, and I'm speaking for Andy, we would not make any moves with that until we consulted council and got their approval.
When you say, we're saying that that's what we want to wait till it's passed by budget. Let's say it wasn't brought up next year for budget, and then say maybe Andy says, hey, I want to retire, forget this, and somebody else is there that just appoints or fills that position. Is there going to be any documentation stating that?
Well, we can't fill a position, the city manager can't fill a position unless it's budgeted, and only council can put that into the budget. So if that were the case and it wasn't in the budget, the original budget, then there would have to be a budget adjustment, which itself would also come to council. So we're not able to fill positions that are not budgeted.
Okay, thank you. That's a clarification I was looking for, just
Sure.
to make sure something down the road wouldn't, just slip through the cracks.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Okay, hearing none. Marissa, please call the roll.
No.
I'm sorry. I couldn't hear you.
No.
Joe?
No.
Dan,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Dr. Dave,
No.
Molly,
Yes.
Lori.
No.
Okay, that has been turned down on first read.
Second read.
I'm sorry, second read. All right, we'll move on to item I2, ordinance number 083-22, an ordinance appointing J. Andrew Small as the city manager of Napoleon, Ohio, and declaring an emergency. And suspension is requested. That must have been put in there by Chad.
I did point that out.
You have a motion?
A motion?
Second.
Okay. Have anything to add to this, Chad?
I will note that this legislation does not only appoint Andy, but it does cover the portion that would terminate my acting time. Both are noted in this legislation. But we will need this passed under suspension if he's to start next Monday.
Any objections, Mr. Small? All right, good.
Motion for suspension.
A second?
Okay, Marissa, please call the roll for suspension.
Ross,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Dr. Dave,
Yes.
Molly,
Yes.
Lori.
Yes.
All right, any other questions or comments? Okay. Marissa, please call the roll on the ordinance.
Ross,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Dr. Dave,
Yes.
Molly,
Yes.
Lori.
Yes.
Okay, that is passed on second read under suspension. All right, moving on to item J. Third readings of ordinances and resolutions. J1 is ordinance number 078-22, an ordinance authorizing the transfer of a portion of certain property to wit approximately 0.73 acres more or less of real property, parcel number 41-110048.0000, owned by the city of Napoleon, Ohio, to the Ohio Department of Transportation and declaring an emergency.
Motion.
Second?
All right, Chad?
As mentioned before, this is to donate a portion of property we own under US 624 out there northeast of the Walmart area, the old DT&I railroad bed. In exchange, ODOT will extend the path that currently comes from the trailer court on Glenwood over to State Route 108, which will be able to be tied into the roundabout project, which is scheduled to take place this year.
All right. Any questions or comments? Okay, Marissa, please call the roll.
Ross,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Dr. Dave,
Yes.
Molly,
Yes.
Lori.
Yes.
Okay, that's passed on third read. Item J2, resolution number 079-22, a resolution appointing Mayor Jason Mazel and councilperson Molly Nepoli to represent the city of Napoleon, Ohio as members of the Board of Directors of the Community Improvement Corporation of Henry County, Ohio, and declaring an emergency.
Motion.
Second.
Okay,
Nothing new here, this just cover the appointment to the CIC board.
Jen, you have anything that you want to say about that? You don't want these people, or are they good? Sure you will. All right. Marissa, please call the roll.
Ross,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Dr. Dave,
Yes.
Molly,
Yes.
Lori.
Yes.
All right. That has been approved on third read. Moving on to item K, good of the city. K1 is discussion or action to allow ODOT to work inside the city limits for the State Route 108 roundabout project, PID 110867. Need a motion to direct the law director to draft legislation. Chad, do you have any comments on this?
This is like we've seen on several projects here recently. ODOT's not allowed to work within our corporation limits without approval of the city. This is just requesting that legislation be drafted for the roundabout project.
Do we have any idea when they want to start?
They are planning to bid that project out this spring, but I don't know a construction schedule yet.
Okay. And do you know approximately how long that project?
I thought they were hoping to limit the closure to 90 days. Generally, they can reduce that some as well, but until they have the bid documents finished, I won't know for certain.
What will be closed, the whole, like 108 or the entrance and exit ramps or?
Because of the extent of the work, they are setting up detours. So 108 underneath 24 will essentially be closed because they'll be replacing the ramp. You may be able to access the eastbound ramp on the south side, but there is a portion of time where they need to do some work there as well. So I look for the closure there to be shorter, but there will be a time when all of that is closed, especially during the paving operations.
Do you have any idea what the detour is going to look like going north out of town?
No, because they submitted a detour and I rejected it. They had some detours set up on roads that could not handle the traffic, and they had one detour set up for Woodlawn Avenue, which has a load-limited bridge. I reviewed their detours 2 weeks ago, rejected it, made recommendations, sent it back, but they've not resubmitted.
Okay.
ODOT is very good at putting their detour notifications out minimum 2 weeks in advance. So I'm sure we'll get notice on that, and as soon as we get it, we'll post everything we can to our website and our Facebook as well.
Would you like to share your recommendation? Because I was just thinking, like, where would they go?
I know they were considering County Road R. County Road R, I don't believe can handle the traffic, plus it's a narrow road. And they would need the county engineer's approval because most of that road is not inside the corporation limits. It may be their only option, but they're going to take a second look at it. The other option for southbound traffic was to send them down R to the west to Glenwood Avenue and into town and down Woodlawn. That one I told them they could not do. I recommended they look at utilizing the Industrial Drive exit and routing traffic around. That doesn't necessarily help with the southbound traffic on 108. S might be a better road for them, but that's one where a lot of the local residents will figure out very quickly what's their best option. But there will only be one signed route, and I haven't received those plans yet.
Okay.
Do we anticipate this project coinciding with the bridge work on Oakwood?
There's a possibility of that. And I discussed that with the county engineer. The problem is their bridge couldn't be pushed back much because of the condition, and pushing it back to 2024 will be when the work on Oakwood's being done.
Right.
Which your first reaction is that would be a good time to do it until you see the two projects don't work well together. We're going to try to maintain at least one lane of traffic while we're doing portions of Oakwood. And if we took the bridge out, we would have one lane for a portion and then the road completely closed. Tim has assured me that they'll try to keep their construction window as short as possible. But that was the reason why the Oberhaus Bridge on Oakwood, they would have had to push it out to 25, which then would have been right after we just paved the road. So they elected just get it done and get it over with. And they do have grant money attached for that, I believe.
The first 2 weeks of August would not be ideal.
Correct. And I met with the county engineer shortly before Christmas, and I just mentioned to be very aware of the various summer festivals as well as the school's calendar. Whenever we can do something like that and not affect school, that's our first choice.
I think for this ODOT project, we should look at that as well. If it's gonna be 90 days, it'd be nice when the school's not in session
Right.
because, like you said, people are gonna find different ways, and I think Glenwood and Woodlawn is gonna be used quite a bit.
Right. And we're pushing them to have it be a June to August, which for the most part would avoid issues with school. But until they award that contract, I just don't have a schedule.
Right.
We will make recommendations to the state. Sometimes that's all we can do is make recommendations.
And just like any other road improvement, it's a inconvenience while it's being repaired, but it's gonna be nice when it's done.
And it's not very nice right now.
No, not at all,
So,
no. Okay, thank you for the info. Have a motion to direct the law director to draft legislation.
Motion.
I'll second.
Okay, Marissa, please call the roll.
Ross,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Dr. Dave,
Yes.
Molly,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
All right, that has been approved. Item K2, discussion or action to approve a $6,000 NIEDF grant to Brick and Brew Pub. Chad?
I was involved, and I'm more than capable of explaining this, but Jen is here.
All right.
I hate to have you just come for nothing.
Yeah, no, I came for a reason. Did everyone get the memo and the email? Joe?
Jen, can you do us a huge, huge favor?
Yeah.
Can you come up to the microphone, please?
The camera only sees you from behind.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Yes, I knew you would. All right. Do you want me to turn this then?
If you can,
Too?
perfect. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes. So Brian Top and Brick and Brew, they've reached out to me several times about needing to finish several items in order to get their occupancy for the second half of their building. Knowing back in 2021, Joel and myself met with them and discussed a $5,000 NIEDF grant for them to fix the window on the Washington Street side that they were going to remove and then fix that concrete as well. We did give them a timeline to fix that. I believe it was October 31st, 2021. That came and went. We saw no work completed. After reaching out to them due to the glass was not arrived, COVID restraints, they just couldn't get it done. I would like to say, I think we've all seen they've been pretty successful lately. The amount that they said that they're in need of, which now they are 75% complete with this punch list, if you will. They just need to finish their plumbing and the window, taking out that window. So meeting with Mr. Geringer and Chad as interim city manager, part of the NIEDF committee, we discussed this and looking at our balance of the NIEDF fund, which is a little over $40,000, we thought approving a $6,000 reimbursable grant, meaning they would have to complete the work, submit their paid invoice to us, then we would issue that $6,000 towards the window removal and any concrete work, with the deadline being completed by,
June 1.
yes, June 1, which I told them that was in part for hoping to be completed for Rib Fest or Food Fest. I did talk to them. They were okay with that. They think it'll be done quicker than that date. So that is our suggestion to you. NIEDF fund gets recommended to council for approval. If it does get approved, then it comes to the CIC board. We will approve. We house the funds. We would then, of course, cut that check, again, once they submit that paid invoice for work completed. The CIC held our Christmas gathering there a couple weeks ago. It was full. I mean, granted, we took up a whole side of the restaurant side, but other people on a Thursday night came in, the bar was full, tables were full. They need that other side. He did state that with that extra side being open, it would add occupancy for 75 people, and then would also create an additional 4 jobs, which of course we're always huge on, supporting job creation if we do offer these funds.
Great.
Any questions?
That's Dan.
Mr. President, was this the same way the 2021 thing was set up, that they had to do the work before they got the money?
Yes, yep.
Okay.
The last time we did do an NIEDF grant was for Jack Products, and that's how we did that as well. That was for $50,000, and they submitted their paid invoices, and then we released that money.
Okay, thank you.
And we are, with that balance, $40,000, take 6 out. We do have a couple tax abatement agreements that will start paying pilots, so we should see an additional $3,000 coming in, which usually happens in the fall, so we should get about $5,000 annually into the NIEDF fund, so it should replenish itself.
All right. Thank you. Any other questions? All right. Need a motion to approve.
I'll motion.
Second.
Okay, Marissa, please call the roll.
Ross,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Ted,
Yes.
Dr. Dave,
Yes.
Molly,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Okay, that has been approved. Thank you, Jen. Okay, item 3, discussion or action, new patrol vehicle off-state contract for Mark's unit and an additional car under $50,000. Chad?
Yes, these items were both included in the police department's 2023 budget. They're requesting approval to buy from state contract one patrol vehicle. And since they were able to acquire, or they're in the process of acquiring the vehicle from the village of Deschler, with some of the staffing changes they've had with Jamie's departure and some other staff moving around, rather than purchasing the second patrol vehicle, they're gonna buy more of a sedan-type vehicle for one of the investigators on staff. That would be under $50,000. There are some available on state contract. They're just asking for approval to proceed with making those purchases.
Thank you. Have any questions or comments? All right, need a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Okay, Marissa, please call the roll.
Ross,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Ted,
Yes.
Dr. Dave,
Yes.
Molly,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
All right, that has been approved. Item, what number I'm on, 11. K4, discussion or action on fourth quarter budget adjustments to direct the law director to draft legislation. Kevin?
This goes with the timeline that I discussed at last council meeting, where we need to have the fourth quarter budget adjustments completed. What we would like to do is to ask the law director to draft legislation that can go in front of you on the 16th, which be following, we need to set up the finance and budget committee meeting for next week at some time. Part of the issue that we ran into, again, was our payroll that we ran and got paid on the 30th of the month. So this gives us time to balance all the line items and funds for the end of the year, to be presented to that committee on the 9th or 10th, or whatever date we set that, to go to council on the 16th for approval. And if everybody approves the legislation, then we can close the books on 2022, 17th or 18th of this month.
Okay, great. All right, could I have a motion to direct the law director to draft legislation?
I'll motion. Second.
Okay, Marissa, please call the roll.
Ross,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Ted,
Yes.
Dr. Dave,
Yes.
Molly,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
All right, that has been approved. Item K5, discussion or action, award of chemicals for the water treatment and wastewater treatment plants for year 2023.
Yes, the chemical bids for 23 were opened on December 21st. There's a memo in the packet outlining those. You may note that there are several fewer chemicals, and that's due to the adjustment of our bidding threshold, the $50,000 threshold from 25. Prices are up. Jeff Weiss from the water plant's here. You can see the aluminum chlorohydrate is up over 44 cents a gallon, and the liquid aluminum sulfate is up about 24 cents a gallon. Jeff, were you happy with the prices you got?
Yeah, we think that those increases aren't very significant compared to what they were the year before. Obviously, any price increase is not something you wanna see, but due to what we have been dealing with in you know, the country right now, it's not something that we were overly, not happy with. Obviously, just seeing the two bids was something that was kind of an accomplishment. We did have two other bidders, that do tend to bid on these two chemicals that just submitted a letter to us saying that they were not able to bid on the chemical this year. So, it is becoming a problem for us, but we are thankful that these two are both our most important chemicals, I guess, at each plant. I'm not speaking for Jay on that, but I know that they use that chemical quite a bit. And obviously, the aluminum chlorohydrate is probably our most important chemical. So being able to get bids, was definitely important to us. Like Chad said, the other chemicals, we're under the 50,000 threshold, and, we were able to secure, chemicals for those as well through the contract. So, it's a concern of ours, but we are definitely, happy that we did get these two chemicals.
So we're just requesting a simple motion for approval, and that'll allow us to prepare the contracts for purchasing of these chemicals.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeff.
Since he's here, if you don't mind. Jeff, good numbers, but are we confident we're gonna get delivery throughout the year?
Yeah, the chemical vendor that we have and as well for the wastewater plant
Yeah.
have been pretty much our vendors for the past 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
Especially for us, US Alco is, the only vendor that has that chemical, in a very short distance. They're based out of Cincinnati.
Okay,
So, it's the best that we can get.
okay,
They usually, about a 2-week lead time plays a little tricky on us at the plant during the, you know, the summertime, but, we time it out, and we usually have about 3 orders on the board with that company. So
Okay.
that way, we can slide it a little bit, a couple days here and there, and, they appreciate that we do that with them.
okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Jeff, is it a supply chain issue that those other companies didn't bid?
I believe, I'm not positive, they didn't really stay on there, but more, from what I've been told by a lot of vendors is, yeah, they can't secure the supply, and then the logistics, they can't do it. It's not easy to find truck drivers, and these are hazmat drivers that, you know, there's different tags they gotta run, certifications they gotta uphold, and just keeping people, being able to drive is tricky.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions or comments? Okay, we have a motion to approve.
Motion.
Second?
Okay, Marissa, please call the roll.
Ross,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Dr. Dave,
Yes.
Molly,
Yes.
Lori.
Yes.
Okay, that has been approved. Item K6, discussion or action to accept the Marks Radio grant of $42,791.20 for the fire department.
Joel, good job.
Thank you. Just wanted to let you know, this grant was a process with, 9 of the 10 fire departments in the county. The county was totally awarded $238,670.30. So working with the other fire departments, we were able to secure the majority of the funds needed to make our, move over to the MARC system, in which, every county fire chief has agreed is the best system to go to. So this was step 1 in securing the funds to be able to make that happen.
Good job.
Great.
Can we have at the next council meeting, Joel or Chief Matt come and kind of lay out the whole, kind of the history here of Marks, because we're on it, then we're not, now we're going to get back on it, and all the benefits and all that kind of stuff, and it could go before committee, but I think we're all interested. I know it gets reported on quite often, Northwest Signal. If we could just have a, 5 or 8 minute little talk about it to give us a little history, so you have an idea.
Sure.
All the stuff that goes into it. Is that possible? What's that?
It's at 5 or 8 minutes, it's a long history there.
Well, I think I don't want to cut it short. I don't want to be half hour. I just kind of give an idea of, here's why we want to go back to Marks, or here's the system we're on, here's, that kind of stuff that goes into it. Just that kind of give us an idea. So where we're at. Is that possible?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Um,
Is it okay?
I-
I didn't mean to put something on the
Absolutely.
agenda, but.
No,
I know Joel's well versed in it, and I've had long discussions with this topic with Chief Mack.
Yeah.
So I know they both know this issue inside and out.
The bottom line is, we want our safety people to be able to communicate when they absolutely have to communicate. And if that's the Mark system is better than the current system, I'm all for it. I just want to kind of get a sense again of, we don't want to end our meeting there, Chad.
it just keeps
So,
popping
they
on.
keep popping up? Okay. So, maybe he does, I don't know, maybe it's like,
We're trying to break records here.
I thought we had 5 minutes, not 2. So I appreciate, just kind of give us an idea, if you could. Perfect, thank you.
I'll make a motion to accept.
Second.
Hey, Marissa, please call the roll.
Ross,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dr. Dave,
Yes.
Molly,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
Okay, item K7, discussion or action to approve the fire department to apply for the Walmart Community Grant. Joel?
Yes, this is a pretty standard grant we apply for each year. We just switch between us and the police department each year, and they usually ask for $5,000, which is the maximum amount. This year, we're thinking something more along the lines of some dorm room improvements that are needed, that we identified.
Like plumbing?
That'll probably be covered without this, but
Okay.
take care of that before this.
This request does not require legislation, just a simple motion by council.
Thank you. All right, any other questions or comments? All right, need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Hey, Marissa, please call the roll.
Ross,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dr. Dave,
Yes.
Molly,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
All right, we'll go around the table. I just have a couple things, and I didn't write them down, so I'm gonna say them before I forget. So, first thing, I'm gonna say a good recommendation, word I'm looking for. Good job. Fire department, the house on Woodlawn, that could have been a lot worse than what it was. You wanna tell us a little bit about it, Joel, and
I ran into you the next day. I say not many events happen like you see on TV, but this was one of those events you just can't make up. So, a car into a house we do get those from time to time, but a car into a house that starts on fire is not our norm. So the crew for the night had 4 on, which was great. They were all in the station, so they were able to respond quickly. But just that mindset of switching from a car accident and now into a fire, and you're arriving on scene first with the ambulance. So the crew just acted very good. I can't really praise them enough on their actions and their initial response and the plan they put into place and how much they handled with 4 people. So they did a great job.
you did mention that where the vehicle hit the house, that was the only exit for the upstairs
I believe.
apartment,
So
which,
the family had to get out on the roof in the back to get out. So.
great job, and pass it along to the rest of the guys, please. The only other thing I have is a very short executive session for compensation of personnel. All right, start with Kevin over here.
Other than, we do need to set up the finance and budget committee meeting
yeah.
for next week.
Yep.
When we make sure that gets completed, I'd appreciate it. And I don't wanna take away anyone else's thunder, but I can just, City of Napoleon should be very proud of the response of our employees that took place the weekend of Christmas with the amount of, water incidents that we had. And so I'm not gonna name anybody because there's several people, but while several of us, it was cold and windy and the weather was nasty, but we were home, there was others out there taking care of issues. And if it was from the response to the city of Napoleon, so.
That's awesome.
So the operations did a great job.
Thank you. I will pass it on.
Just add to the electric side of that, there are so many communities that have a lot of power outages, and as far as I know, I didn't hear that we had any
I
at
think
all.
we only had a couple minor,
Yeah.
had an area west of town on New Year's Eve.
Okay.
So, but they responded quickly and took care of it.
But not from the wind that we had for those,
I
3
believe that
days.
might have been a car accident, so yeah, their maintenance of the trees
Right.
saves us a lot of after-hours calls.
yes, absolutely. Okay, and Marissa, you are taking care of the finance and budget,
Yes.
get that set up?
Monday at
Yeah.
6:30.
Okay, great, thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, and Molly,
Nothing tonight, thank you.
okay, Tori,
When do the Christmas lights come down, Jan?
I have not spoken to Tony because we delayed the staff meeting. I will get that information, so.
I just encourage anyone to get out there before they do come down, especially down by Ritter Park. It's a really beautiful walk in the evening,
Yep.
so. Good job to the staff that got that taken care of, and thank you to our emergency services and our ops department for your work. Appreciate it.
thank you. Ross,
Kevin did steal my thunder, but I'll just echo, great jobs to the ops department. I think our trash was scheduled for pickup on that crazy cold, windy day. I called the ops building and just asked, is this running today? And she said,
Yeah.
yep, sure is, and if you're not comfortable going out and putting your stuff out, we'll do double pickup next week, no big
Yeah.
deal. So, yeah, kudos to everyone involved there. Also, now that it's official, welcome Andy, glad to have you aboard, see you Monday. That's
All right.
all I have.
I have a mulligan. The golf simulator is up and running. I did rent it out a couple days ago with a couple guys. We had a great time. I think it'll be a lot of fun for our community to go in there and check it out. Jason?
Got a bunch of people to appoint to various boards and committees. These all expired, so reappoint Mike DeWitt for the Board of Public Affairs, reappoint Tim Berry for Planning Commission, reappoint Larry Volkey for Planning Commission, and for Parks and Rec, reappoint Ryan Miller, Mike St. Holtz, and John Napoli, and for the Preservation Commission, reappoint Kevin Milius. I'm still looking for somebody for the Board of Zoning Appeals. So, we always traditionally have done a approval by council, it's not required, but if we would like to do that again, I'd appreciate it.
We can do that. Just need a motion.
Motion.
Second it.
Okay. Marissa, please call the roll.
Ross,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes,
Ed,
Yes.
Dr. Dave,
Yes.
Molly,
Yes.
Lori.
Yes.
All right. That has been approved.
Chad, thank you for all your leadership during this time of transition, your guidance during the budget season and before that and since. We really appreciate it. Thank you very
Sure,
much for
it's
all
my
you do.
pleasure.
Appreciate it. That's all I had. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Dan?
the only thing I have, and this is more of a county issue, but Judge McCulley has officially retired. There is a reception Friday afternoon at the, is it Emporium across from
Yep.
3:30 to 4:30, so
What day?
Friday
Friday.
afternoon. If she's on a little vacation right now. We're hoping her flight works to get her back here on Friday. But there is a reception there between 3:30 and 4:30 Friday afternoon. And that is all.
Thank you. Ken?
I noticed 2 weeks ago as I was listening to the council meeting, when the people in the back would stand up to speak, I could not hear it on the computer. I think a microphone up in the ceiling, close to where the camera is, would be a good location for that.
I can discuss that with IT and see what our options might be. Okay.
That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. All right, Dave?
Nothing to add that hasn't been said already.
Okay, Billy?
Nothing for me, thank you.
And Chad?
It's my last official meeting. Thank you for the opportunity. Hope I was able to keep the ship in the right direction.
Absolutely
Um,
did.
I personally want to thank my personnel out at Ops. I'm not gonna lie, we had to prod a couple of them on Christmas. But it was miserable, and it was Christmas. But they all came. I had guys soaking wet out there. It was terrible. But they did their job. And I tell them thank you every time, so. I appreciate everybody else's appreciation of what they do as well as all the other departments. So they do, it does mean something to them knowing they're appreciated, so,
Good.
thanks.
All right, we have a motion to go into executive session for compensation of personnel.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Marissa, please call the roll.
Ross,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Dr. Dave,
Yes.
Molly,
Yes.
Lori.
Yes.
All right, I think just want to invite Chad and Andy. Come on.
Motion.
Second.
Hey, Marissa, please call the roll.
Ross,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Dr. Dave,
Yes.
Molly,
Yes.
Lori.
Yes.
Okay, no action taken. Item L, approve payment of bills. In the absence of any objections or corrections, the payment of bills shall stand approved. Okay, hearing none, they stand approved. Item M, adjournment. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Marissa, please call the roll.
Ross,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Dr. Dave,
Yes.
Molly,
Yes.
Lori.
Yes.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you all.
Okay.